Hello, everyone. This is December 3rd, 2010. This is chapter 2 of my story. Chapter 1, I was relating some of the things I remember when we moved to our, our second home, what we call the Parks place. Like I've said previously, I have a lot of good memories of that place, even though it was basically a rundown shack. I explained earlier in chapter 1 about in the old house, how rundown it was, how we had no indoor plumbing, no indoor toilet. Our mom had just no kerosene stove to cook on, just a fireplace for the heat in the wintertime. Uh, no amenities whatsoever. Uh, we live approximately 5 miles out in the country from our little town of Gorman, Texas, and I was relating how we caught the school bus. We had to run across the field, probably a half mile away, to catch that old bus, come on the old country road. Another story I would like to relate is kind of what we did for entertainment. We didn't have any TV at that time. In the late 40s and early 50s, TV was very, very rare. I can remember as a youngster going to the movie. We called it the picture show back in those days. And we'd get out of the movie and walk down the street, and then W.C. Browning's appliance store, you would see this new thing called a TV. Uh, there were several on display, and mostly it was reception was horrible back in those days. Black and white, just snow, and you had to have a big antenna to get good reception, a tall antenna. Excuse me. And but it was quite the rage. The TV was just coming out, and they're very expensive at the time, and most folks couldn't afford them. We definitely couldn't. We did have a radio though, and back in those days there were many, many shows on the radio, drama shows, comedy shows, uh, lots of music, of course. Back in Texas, country music, country western music was really what was going on. Uh, I can remember some of my favorite radio shows was The Lone Ranger. I Was a Communist for the FBI, Art Linklater Show, Fibber, McGee and Molly, Green Hornet, just on and on. There were just so many shows. My older brother Robert especially liked one show, The Lone Ranger. He was in love with that show. Uh, we had a radio. It was placed on top of an old dresser of drawers on top, quite a ways up for small kids. We had to get on a chair even to reach it or turn it on. And I can remember coming home from school and listening to Spanky and Our Gang. And like I said, my brother, especially Robert, loved the Lone Ranger show. He would get up on that chair and just put his ear right to the radio and listen to the whole show, standing there listening to the Lone Ranger. Uh, it was a very popular show at that time, and all of us kids loved it. He especially loved it. And I can remember where my mom used to buy Cheerios, popular cereal at the time. Well, just like it is today, still very popular cereal, Cheerios. And there were coupons, box top, that you could save and send in a certain amount, and maybe with 50 cents or $1, I don't recall how much, and get a Lone Ranger badge. So Robert faithfully saved the appropriate amount of coupons and sent in the required amount of money, and he got his Lone Ranger badge in the mail, and he was very, very proud of that badge. Uh, so one day, though, me and my brother Joe, who's about a year and a half older than me, we were always playing kind of head games, fun games with Robert. He was so serious. He took everything really serious. He always did. when he was growing up. He was very studious and very proper, and he studied hard and worked hard, and he was, even as a kid, kind of a no-nonsense guy. So we devised this scheme to take his Lone Ranger badge, steal it, and play a trick on him. So we got his Lone Ranger badge, and there was like a little plum thicket, oh, probably 30, 40 yards from the house, basically just almost in front of the house, 30, 40 yards maybe, not too far in the house. And we used to play in that little plum thicket, kind of use it for a little hideout and so forth. And the soil was very sandy, soft as I recall. So we devised this scheme, this plan to dig a big hole. So we dug this big hole, and we covered it with like probably limbs from the plum trees and just whatever we could, grass and so forth, to hide it, so you could not see the hole. It looked like just part of the ground there, part of the grass, so to speak. And so the plan was for me to stand behind the hole, waving Robert's Lone Ranger badge, which we'd taken, and have him fall in the hole. So Joe went in the house and yelled at Robert, Robert, Winston has your Lone Ranger badge. Winston has your Lone Ranger badge. Robert was immediately out to kill somebody, namely me. Here I was on the other side of the hole. Yeah, Robert, here's your badge, just taunting him. He come running just as hard as he could. He was going to kill me. He come running just as hard as he could, his arms swinging, ready to kill his little brother on the other side of that hole, which he did not know existed. He run just as hard as he could, and just before he got to me, he fell in that hole. And I can still remember that surprised look on his face. Just sort of, what the heck happened? And we run away. I don't remember the rest of the story. He probably beat me up as soon as he caught me, but that story still sticks in my mind, almost like yesterday. We were always playing tricks on Robert. I can remember, like at night, he'd be in there studying by the light, and like I said, he was always a serious kid. He would be studying by the light, and I would yell through the window, Robert loves Letha Yarborough, and he would, that would just set him in a rage. He would throw down his books. He'd come outside. Remember one time he caught me just pounding on my back, just beating me up. But it was always fun to play with Robert. He, like I said, he took things so serious, like he probably still does today. He's a lawyer today. He'll probably, I'm sure he remembers some of these stories I'm relating. Anyway, that's just another memory I had on the old Parks place there. I think it was, gosh, when we moved from that place, probably about the fourth grade. I think it was 1954 or 1955. We moved to another place called the Wallace place. Now, our name is spelled Wallace, and that place was spelled Wallis. Just coincidence, I guess, that it had the same name as our name. And that place was a little more upgrade. It was just, it was still way out in the country, probably, when I say way out, probably 5 miles out in the country. And it was a little nicer place, I guess. It still had no amenities, no indoor plumbing. It did have a kitchen sink where there was water, just cold water as I recall. We had to heat the hot water to do the dishes and so forth. And I can remember one time my dad told me to do the dishes. He was yelling at me, go do the dishes. My mom had bought at the store 8 plastic tumbler, new glasses, 8 plastic tumbler glasses. So I put them in the. I was not real happy about doing dishes. I was kind of a lazy kid. I didn't like to do. I thought that was kind of like woman's work. But anyway, Daddy, you didn't mess with him. He told you to do the dishes. You did the dishes. So I got in there, and I remember heating up some boiling hot water and poured it in the sink with the dishes. And it melted all Mama's brand new plastic tumblers. And Daddy was about ready to kill me, and I can remember Mama coming to my defense saying, "Dad's name was Joe." She said, "Joe, I don't think Winston meant to do that. He didn't realize they would. He didn't realize they would melt those tumblers." Anyway, Daddy didn't give me a whipping that day because of Mama's intervention. He let it go, but he was very angry. He thought I did it on purpose, which I didn't do. It truly I didn't do it on purpose. Uh, anyway, at that place, like I say, it was about 5 miles out in the country, and it was still a dirt road, and have a lot of fond memories of that place. We had lots of woods to swim in. Back there, we had what they call tanks or stock tanks for the cattle. The government typically would help you, uh, you know, build this pond, this tank, or pay for it. And most folks back there, in order to water their cattle, had a tank or stock pond. So those were our swimming holes, and there were lots of tanks or stock ponds all around. Each neighbor would have a tank or stock pond, and we knew all our neighbors, and they knew us, and we were friends with them. So we could always, even without we didn't have to ask them. We could go swimming whenever uh, in their tanks. So have a lot of fond memories of swimming and fishing in those tanks. We call them stock ponds. And looking back, most of them were pretty dirty. Kind None of them were clear, but at the time, that's what we had. That was our swimming holes, our swimming pools. That was where we swam, and had a lot of fond memories of swimming in those tanks, fishing in those, and we had lots of woods. We had a little creek. I guess there was a river there, Leon River, a little tributary off the Leon that if you walk far enough up that little creek, you would run into the Leon River. And we spent lots of times wading in that creek, hunting. Uh, we used to go squirrel hunting with our dog and just exploring. And some days we'd be out all days just roaming the woods and just having a good time. And have a lot of fond memories about walking in the woods and hunting squirrels and going swimming and just exploring and walking and just being kids. It was many wonderful memories. In those days, we had a lot of freedom to do really what we wanted to do. If we weren't assigned a chore or a job, maybe hoeing the peanuts or hauling hay or something like that. Weren't, if Daddy didn't have any chores for us, lots of days we could just, especially in the summertime when there was no school, we'd take off and be gone all day, and they didn't really worry about us. They I guess we'd be okay, and we didn't have to really check in or anything. There was no cell phones. In fact, we never had a phone till I guess till I come back from the Navy. I'm pretty sure we never had a TV or a telephone. Uh, the way of communicating back there was basically a mail. Most folks back in those days wrote letters. You'd write letters to your friends, relatives. I can remember Grandma Wallace. She'd always send me a birthday card. Birthdays in our family was not the big of an event like some kids today. It was my mom always made us a cake. Other than that, it was you know kind of another day. I don't recall anyone ever singing happy birthday. I don't recall any presents whatsoever. But I do recall my Grandma Wallace. God bless her. She was a wonderful, sweet lady. She'd always send us kids a birthday card, and I can remember I always waited on that card on my birthday, and she faithfully would always send it, and there would always be a dime in it. back then a dime was a pretty big deal. You could go to the movies, I recall. Kids could go for 9 cents and the adults could go for like 25 cents. And going to the movies was a real big deal. We always went on Saturday. I don't think we ever went during the week. Uh, we'd go on Saturday if Daddy wasn't too tired from plowing the peanuts. Uh, we looked so forward to that, going to the movies. And typically it'd be a Western of Gene Autry or Roy Rogers, Lash LaRue, the Durango Kid. Usually a double feature, Bowery Boys, or and there'd always be a good cartoon, which we love, Bugs Bunny or Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, kind of the old-fashioned Sylvester the Cat, Tweebird, the old-fashioned cartoons, which pretty rare nowadays. You can still see them, I guess, but we love the cartoons, and they'd have an ongoing serial, uh, which was exciting too. Can hardly wait to get back to next Saturday to see how somebody did the impossible. Uh, I can remember going there and getting a bag of popcorn or Fifth Avenue candy bar. That was just like heaven. Like I said, we didn't have any TV, so going to the movies, going to the picture shows, everyone called it, was that was a big deal for us. That was our entertainment. That and the like I said, we did a radio. You could listen to the radio shows, and but the movies, the picture show was really something special at the time. Look forward to that. Anyway, I'll get back to a few more things tomorrow. Chapter 3. So until then, I bid you a good day.